Spring break is over. It has come to a close, and it feels super weird to come home from a week off and then it blizzards outside. But I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about a couple books, particularly The Wax Child by Olga Ravn that I just finished. This was a very interesting read. It utilizes some very powerful themes. This book features a wax doll that is created by Kristenza Krukow, and she's sort of the main woman this book chooses to center its narration around, although there is a core group of women that we are observing as the novel elapses. Kristenza is a part of this feminine community, and they are very close knit. They work together to perform silent free labor for these cities and this community that they live in. They keep the old ways of healing and medicine alive. They use gossip to gain trust and pass information back and forth that serves to keep them safe. As these women grow in numbers, the men, particularly the priest of this town, starts to take notice. And he doesn't really like what he's seeing because it now involves his wife, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is a woman who's torn between two worlds. Wants to be a good wife. She wants to fit into the normal structures of society because she carries within her a deep and abiding loneliness. And yet she wants to be part of this group of women who, in her darkest and most vulnerable moments, have cared for her. Anytime Elizabeth's husband drunkenly abuses her, she runs to these women and they patch her wounds, soothe her bruises. They give her a sense of support and safety that she does not have at home. When she returns to her home, her husband senses that this woman is not entirely his, and rumors begin to circulate that there is witchcraft taking place. Meanwhile, on a macro scale, Denmark is on the cusp of modernity. It is 17th century Denmark. It has a new king, King Christian IV, and he is intent on modernizing Denmark. They are about to become a world power. He is increasing their navy, refining their military. He's establishing the postal service, but he has a very deep, abiding hatred of and distaste towards witchcraft or anything that looks like or appears to be witchcraft. As rumors are circulating around these women and this case is sort of being built against them in the dark, they are caught in between keeping the old ways alive and this modernity that is sweeping across Denmark and across Europe at large. It shows how women and our communal systems are often the first thing laid on the sacrifice of technological advancement and of a society's modernization. Women are the keepers of history, of storytelling, of information, of community building. They perform a lot of this free labor that the community absolutely relies on. They pick wool and they spin it into yarn. They make sausage, they make cheese, they feed people by pooling their natural talents, by pooling their natural resources that they themselves have into the greater good of any given community that they're a part of. One of the themes that I wrote down in this novel is how these women, even as they're a part of their own community or attempt to make a community of their own, their identity is still very male informed. And this plays out in their relationship with Elizabeth, who is, again, straddling these two different sides of herself, if you will, due to her loneliness, wants to fit in. And she doesn't quite fit in with her husband's expectations because he is an abusive alcoholic and he uses theology and he uses God like a weapon to manipulate his own purposes. And yet she wants to fit into this community of women, but hasn't quite gained their trust. So she doesn't quite feel fully on the ends with them either. And we see how that sort of plays out to disastrous ends. Men very quickly realize that women are stronger when they are together. And witchcraft, in this sense, or the term Satan, as used in this book by men as a weaponization, Satan is not the embodiment of sin or evil, but rather is this concept of feminine independence or any autonomy that they attempt to assert is squashed with crazy laws, with rumors, with assertions by good and upstanding gentlemen that these women are intentionally seeking them out and harming them. And so therein comes the wax child, who is sort of a voodoo doll, if you will. This doll is the receptacle of hair clippings and nail clippings and certain things that have been gathered by these women to use as their own methods of really safety. What I liked about this book is that it didn't make a clear stance on, oh yeah, they're definitely practicing witchcraft, or oh, they're not actually practicing witchcraft. And it kind of left that interpretation up to you. The book is not here to demonize any practice over another, but again, explore how women utilize and keep hold of these old traditional ancient methods that may appear supernatural or divine in nature. And I thought that was really interesting that Olga Ravn kind of plays with our own conception of witchcraft or divination. As a reader, this book leaves you with this incredible sense of loneliness. You sense the destruction that these weak, insecure men wreak on this community of women by the end of the novel, and how the women and even the men who are left in the wake of this destroyed community have nothing, and how women, as the community holders, as the sort of center of community, when they're gone, there seems to be this sense of regret by some of the men involved that it got that far, and they feel bewildered as to what comes next. And you really sense that this sweeping movement of anti witchcraft or anti witch that was taking place in Denmark at the time gutted this society and this culture of its heart. And so, in that regard, I absolutely see why this was longlisted for the International Booker Prize. And if I'm honest, the intense abstract writing kind of kept me at a distance from some of the characters and some of the aspects of the plot that I would have loved a little bit more human emotion and dedication to. But it's honestly, it's such a small gripe. This book is very unique and very interesting. So I think if you pick it up, you'll enjoy it. But if you've read it, let me know. I do want to know your thoughts. I know there's a few people who are also going to be reading The Wax Child, so pop your thoughts in the comments, please. That being said, I have picked up my next International Booker Prize long list from the library. I have a different cover than the one that they put on the website. These American covers, I don't know, you guys. I really like the international covers that I'm seeing on the Booker Prize website better. However, this is the American cover of We Are Green and Trembling by Gabriela Cabezón Cámara. I'm excited to dive into this one next. It's also another short one, less than 200 pages. So, another one, interestingly, that showcases changing society on the crux of waning religious power, kind of like what we saw in The Wax Child. So, it's going to be interesting. And then last, I am currently reading the most incredible novel. It is A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing by Alice Evelyn Yang. This book follows a young woman, Kianze, as she is thrust headfirst into the trauma and history that her family carries. And that with each generation, that does not stop the cycle of trauma or family legacy that maybe doesn't confront their fate. Kianze is sort of the one that is on the forefront of having to stop these cycles and stop whatever freight train of fate is heading her way. When she's 11, her father walks out on their family. She's left completely confused, no idea why. And the novel drops us into her adulthood when her father has suddenly rematerialized in her life. Unfortunately, she's not getting much out of him. He is addicted to alcohol. She has recurring dreams that have come back to her. She's being visited by aunties in the subway who are telling her that the prophecy is about to be fulfilled, so she better buckle up. It's clear that her father's rematerialization in her life is the missing key that she needs to put all the pieces together and unlock the next step of her journey in this fate that has come to her family. But it is so incredibly written. I think this is going to be a favorite of the year if it continues on the same way forward that it's been so far. I am absolutely in love with the writing. I'm so drawn into Yang's writing, her characterization. I love the way that she's telling Kianze's story. She's showcasing the humanity of her drunken father. If you have not read this yet, or if you've not heard of it, absolutely put it on hold at your library. You are going to want to read this one. I feel like it's going to be a pretty popular book this year. You know how like you can tell when a book is going to be 5 stars? Like I just get the sense. And I don't even like to do star ratings anymore. I just feel like it's not indicative of a thorough experience with a book. But that being said, A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing by Alice Evelyn Yang is on a fast track to become one of my favorites of the year. That is where I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to chat about books with me. Please let me know what you're reading in the comments. I would love to hear your excitement about your current read. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.